Hi, everybody. Good morning. Take a quick minute, say hi to the person next to you. I just want to get everybody to interact and like break the ice a little. Uh, so my name is Jonathan Elias. I'm from California, from one Californian to another. I'm a doctoral student finishing up right now, and this is my dissertation research. I'm going to have a conversation with you, and we'll just go through the slides, mainly because I forgot what I was going to say, what should I say? So it's easier if we just talk about it. So this is the confined voices of education, and it looks at the lived experiences of formerly incarcerated students at a four-year university. The idea that in California or in the US, most people who have been incarcerated can go to community college or can have classes while in jail. From my conversations in certain areas, it's mandatory to do it, but in the US it's not. So you can do it if you want to. But then you can go to community college, which is like 2 years. And then it's always a big feat, at least speaking for me as a Latino male living in the US, it's a big feat to move from community college over to a four-year university. And that's why I want to concentrate on this big aim and this big feat that they can do. So by show of hands, Michael, way to work. How many people know someone who's been incarcerated or know somebody that's been openly about them being incarcerated before? So we have a few, that's great. So my question is that because you'll see as the conversation goes on that people who have been incarcerated are very quiet about it. And that's because of the stigma that comes with it. Not many people are open to say, I've been in jail. I've been in jail for 7 years when I was a kid or anything. It's just very stigmatized. And this research came about as I worked for university housing. I found a student who talked to me. We talked about dogs. I love dogs. So then he asked me if there was housing available because he was told there wasn't. And if he couldn't have any housing, then he wouldn't be able to go to college. He would have to drop out. After being accepted into this university, he would not be able to go because he doesn't have basic needs such as housing, like a roof over their head. What I also find is the issue is that usually people who have been incarcerated belong to marginalized group, whether it be Black, Latino, males, or any other marginalized group. It's mainly structuralized for you to end up it's from education to prison. So when you start off young, when you start off within your socialized stratosphere or socioeconomic stratosphere, you're gonna be there, and that's kind of like what you're told. And you face additional stigmas too. A lot of these students face stigmas not only society, but things that they can't afford, things that they can't do. So what I noticed in higher as I did my research is there's a lot of research revolving around being incarcerated and basically not going back to jail, not recidivating. Why? Because we want people to just become, somebody said sheep earlier, we just want people to work. We want them to make money for us, but they don't give you other hope. So there's no research really looking or much research within higher education looking at what are their struggles, what are their successes. And I think when I first started this research, I said, what are their struggles? But as I moved on, there's a lot of successes to talk about that they overcome. So again, it's to enhance their voices, it's to kind of just, and my point was, I'm an anthropologist, I want to say by trade. I did my undergrad in anthropology. So I've always looked to understand people, but also at the same time, create policy change. I don't think that a lot of times what you can do is push the box from the inside out and make it bigger. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. So my research questions were like, what are the challenges and barriers experienced for formerly incarcerated students at a four-year public university as they navigate their undergraduate college trajectory? And what programs and support systems have formerly incarcerated students identified as aiding their success throughout their trajectory? So I want to see what aids them, but also what challenges they're facing, what's going on. I'm not going to read all this, but I can tell you that the U.S. houses over 50% of the world's incarcerated population, and that to me is an issue. Not only that, but there's a lot of educational inequalities and inequities that happen within the U.S. Specifically. Last Vincent talked about the concept of educational debt, which highlights the historical and structural harm inflicted on marginalized communities. Basically, in the U.S., if you're not white, and like I hate saying it so bluntly, you're underprivileged. If you're not Asian, you're underprivileged. That means you're going to have a lot more struggles, and that's the reality of it. If you're Latino, Black male, or you immigrant, or you're marginal, or you're from other low economic societies, then you will not be able to succeed. And that's what we're told, and that's the narrative that we continue to live. So rather than going from, hey, I'm going to go to school and achieve more, we're told you're going to go to school and you're going to go to prison. And a lot of the times, one person told me, I don't want to go to jail, but that's the only place I feel safe. That's the only place where I can have food. I don't want to do things, but I just feel like I have to, just because of what I'm told. Um, we see that this education does impact recidivism. Education does impact for people not to go back to jail. In California, we have Project Rebound, which means that's a project for former incarcerated students. Those who are within that project and within that program have less likelihood to recidivate. In fact, it's a 0% chance that they've gone. So that's really great in the last 5 years. While in California, it's over 50% of people recidivate without education. So we see that education not only impacts it that way, but it's also a means to obtain jobs. A big factor is the ability to obtain gainful employment, to be able to have enough money to have basic needs, for you to have a roof for you to have food. Um, I'm not gonna go over too much of this because I want to kind of just get to the stories of them. But we do see in other countries, like I was told, actually yesterday, I want to say this week, yesterday, in other countries, you do see that people have to take classes while they're in jail, while they're incarcerated. And the idea of being prepared to go back into society. But in the US, we don't do that. It's optional if you want to do it, but the likelihood is that you will come back. We talk a lot about this, just like it's the education that's a big factor, the ability to gain employment, to have housing, to have money. But they do face a lot of housing instability. A lot of people and a lot of the research shows that when you have housing instability, you have a higher likelihood of also going through violence. And for a lot of women, it's domestic violence as well. But it's the means of I need to be here in order to survive. Go into this. We saw the literature gaps. I kind of was guided by Bordeaux's social reproduction theory, and I really like this because what Bordeaux was basically saying is that what he said is education cannot be analyzed just in terms of economic returns, such as the monetary benefits of earning a degree, as it failed to take into account consideration that the educational system's role in maintaining social structures. Basically, what Bordeaux was saying is, bless you, educational institutions actually help maintain societal structures. It helps maintain inequalities. Basically, if you're born in a certain area of like society, that's where you will be. And education does that because it helps the privileged. If you have money, if you're white, then you will more likely have a greater chance of succeeding in education than anybody else. And Bordeaux says education and the structure of education is helping do that. So this is a qualitative phenomenological study. It is a 4-year university, and I basically asked for college students who were over 18 and had identified as formerly incarcerated, send out an email, work with Project Rebound, work with the program, and asked them if anybody would come. I might have told them I could give them a Starbucks gift card, but that wasn't a big incentive. And we had basic conversation. We had an interview between 40 and 60 minutes, and it was through Zoom mainly. Nobody really wanted to meet in person. Everything wanted to be through Zoom, which I wonder if there's something there, which maybe next year I'll come back and look at that. But we talk about basically their educational pathway, their challenges, their barriers, and their experiences on campus. What we found with the data is that while they did have challenges, they do have a lot of resilience. A lot of them identified as having these moments when life was down and over, that it was a chance for them to turn around. It was difficult for them to talk about personal connections, or create those personal connections, and they had a lot of financial challenges. But there's also programs on campus that are very valuable, but very limited to them. When looking at the challenges, they faced severe personal challenges. A lot of them didn't talk about their incarceration. So it was open for them just to talk about it, but they never touched upon that. One student said, I struggle with drug addiction, but right before my dad passed away, I got sober and then just made a conscious decision to get my life together and go back to school. So they use these moments to kind of transform their lives, which means they have resilience. And now he's going to a master's program in a very well-known school in Southern California. When you're talking about personal connection, a lot of them didn't want to create connections. A lot of them felt that they can connect to somebody else or everybody else on campus. One person said, I chose not to be around so many people just because none of these people understand me. And if I really show them who I was, meaning like if I were to tell them my background, would I be judged? Would I be perceived at that point? So, I mean, I just walked into my own shop. Now, this student went into college happy, excited. He joined a fraternity, he joined clubs, he started playing sports. But in a moment in time, he said, I don't think I connect with them. And the program he talked about Project Rebound. He connected to Project Rebound. but felt he didn't have a direct connection to everybody else. Just because I'm incarcerated, fully incarcerated, doesn't mean I'm the same as everybody else. I don't have that time. Financial challenges were a big one. Has anybody been to California? California, and you know how expensive it is? I mean, I come here and I'm like, wow, like it's not that bad. But when you're in California, and especially at a college campus, when a Subway sandwich can cost you $6 a side, you're looking at $10, $12. So for somebody in a lot of these universities, they pay you minimum wage. So basically your 1 hour just went to that one sandwich. And how do you survive off of that? A lot of them don't have basic needs or don't know where to get basic needs. One person said, I prefer more hours to make sure that I have food on my table. I have housing for me. I have housing for my dog, which is an emotional support for me. I have gas in my car and make sure my car is paid, my phone bills, braces that I don't even have. So I had braces, but I'm still paying them. And you face a lot of these things that are just basic needs and you can't even get a job or enough hours to do so. Again, talking about like the resources on campus, there are resources, but a lot of them benefited from mentorship, specifically from staff who were there for them. A lot of them felt disconnected or judged due to the lack of like connection, like actual empathetic and cultural connection with them as a person. For one of them, the tutoring center was tremendous help. They said, I don't want to say like I don't like, but I don't want to put a title on it, but I guess I'm learning different from other students. And so I'm older and I don't learn like other undergrads. This student was older, 40 years old, doing his undergraduate, but there's, from my talk to him, it's probably a disability there and learning, a learning disability. But how do you put a name on, how do you judge yourself? But just knowing that you need that extra help, or how does somebody tell them you need that extra help, let me help you out? They have to seek it on their own. And sometimes that's hard. From what we got from this, the recommendations is reform housing requirements. A lot of them talked about they couldn't get housing just because they're not your typical undergraduate. I went from high school to a four-year college. Increasing pay on campuses so they can actually make a livable wage that they can actually afford food. Redesign support programs. Basically, a lot of programs in colleges in the US are one size fits all. Because you're Latino, this program works for you. Because you're a woman, this program works, but not everybody's the same. Creating culturally responsive programs that are empathetic and connect with students and having staff that can actually be there for you and cares about you is very necessary. And I think we need policy reform. We need to hire more people. We need more training in DEI. We need people who actually care. A lot of programs, and this is just me frustrated because I live it too. A lot of these programs are mainly people who just want to look good and brown nose to the boss to show how great they're doing and don't really care about the students. And I think that needs to change. We need to find people that actually are there for you. Just like we've all made it here, we need to give others a chance to make it here too. And I think we need to recognize the strength of people. Basically, we see these people are stigmatized. Let's take away the stigma and recognize what they've gone through as something that was amazing. Because I personally don't think I could do that. I don't think many of us could say, I'm going to transform my lives after I went to drug addiction and incarceration and I lost my dad. And guess what? Now I'm going to a master's program. That's very difficult. And how hard is that for them to be there is amazing. I want to leave this because one person said this on their experiences. Because I'm one of those people that I'm socially displaced because I've been put away for 7.5 years at such a young age that I'm not used to coming to people to say, hey, I need help with this. I just can't find myself asking from these programs, especially if they don't understand me. And I think to me, that summed up what they felt. You don't understand me. It's not easy for me to come. So where is the meeting point for the programs to come to me? Where do we actually support these students? Where do we give them a livable wage? For somebody not to have basic needs, to want to have an education should be a right and not a privilege that they have. That's it for me. This is a research of passion because I do find that people need help and we're often like pushing them away. And as long as I don't think we should include people or talk about inclusivity, I think we should make them belong. I think a lot of times when you talk about inclusivity, there's always going to be something exclusive about it. But if you make people belong and you make them feel like they're a part of something, then you have more space for everybody to be a part of this area. So let's make people feel like they belong and let's empower others. Thank you.